Alex clicked mindlessly through the usual late-night sleaze. His eyes skimmed past familiar temptations, the stuff that used to do it for him, but was now old hand. Then a promising website caught his attention. It was more disturbing than the usual content. A skull emoji appeared with a hyperlink next to it.
Looking for something real?
Without thinking too much, he clicked. There was a live video feed. It showed a 4-way split screen of people going about their normal business, the hidden cameras pointing at them from obscure angles. There was a family eating dinner, a man watching TV, a woman lying on her bed, scrolling through her phone. But there was something more going on here. Something dark. Alex felt a flutter of excitement, his skin prickling. Then the voting started.
Pick a home,
came the text. The chat exploded. Votes pouring in, fast and chaotic. One of the video feeds enlarged. A man, maybe in his late 60s, sitting alone in his kitchen, sipping from a chipped mug. A progress bar beside his image filled up. The chat was buzzing, sarcastic jabs, cruel observations. Alex's hand twitched over the mouse, ready to leave, but he couldn't tear his eyes away. The energy was magnetic. He had to see what came next. Then admin posted another message.
Vote for the visitor.
Below it, 3 options were presented.
1. The clown. 2. The French maid. 3. The surgeon.
Again came the votes. Alex's heart thudded in his chest as he hovered above the options, the insanity of it luring him in. He clicked on the clown. A few seconds later, admin posted a message.
There are too many votes. We have an outsider in the forum.
The video feed of the old man disappeared and was replaced by something Alex wasn't ready for. Staring back from the live stream was his own face, pale and sweaty, the green light of his webcam now switched on. He had become part of the show. The chat roared back to life, comments aggressive and sharp, all aimed directly at him. He tried to exit out of the chat, but was unable.
He voted for the clown. Let's give our nosy guest what he asked for.
The window erupted with skull and heart emojis. Please, anyone but the clown, Alex muttered under his breath, frantically clicking the French maid option like his life depended on it. Admin continued.
Get ready to loll at some of the clown's previous highlights.
A video popped up, grainy, shaky footage. The first clip showed a suburban home at dusk. A woman was preparing food, chopping vegetables and tossing them into a pot of boiling water. She was unaware as the clown silently approached. She turned just in time to see him loom over her. There was a scream and a loud splash before the video cut. The next victim was a man being chased through the woods. He was desperate, his breathing ragged as the clown kept pace and taunted him from behind. Eventually he tripped and lay sprawled on the ground as an axe swung through the air. The final clip had a man tied to a chair, his eyes bulging. The clown was pulling brightly coloured handkerchiefs out of the man's mouth, the soggy fabric emerging from deep within his throat. The clown stood there, pulling, smiling, until the man went limp. Alex grabbed his laptop and snapped the lid shut, his body shaking. He paced the room, trying to walk off the anxiety. It's nonsense, he told himself. No way that was real. It's just a chat room full of weirdos, role-playing their sick fantasies. But Alex was wrong, and there was a price to pay for what he had seen. A few days later, he was in a lecture on campus, listening to the professor's voice drone on, when there was a harsh buzzing sound from his phone. Lines of code were scrolling down the screen, the interface flashing. Must be a glitch, he thought, his fingers scrambling to shut it down. Then came a noise from his phone's speaker, a long, unmistakable moan. The type of moan he would normally listen to in private. His face flushed as he fumbled to lower the volume, but the sound only swelled, drawing stares from students nearby. The professor stopped mid-sentence, glaring over his glasses. The moans echoed around the auditorium, now twisting into something darker, screaming, high-pitched and raw. His classmates were unimpressed. Heads were shaking in disgust. Others had their phones out, filming. Alex was now desperately trying to disassemble the device as the recording grew worse. The sounds now a sickening, rhythmic pounding like fists hitting a wall, interrupted by choked, gasping breaths. There was nothing he could do. He needed to get out. He grabbed his things, tripping over his chair as he bolted for the exit, slamming through the door and running back to his dorm. He feared that this was linked to the dark web content he had seen. Somehow, they had gained access to his phone. It was likely that they were even using it to track him. Paranoia chewed away at him as he grabbed a paperweight and started smashing his phone into little bits. The embarrassment of the lecture hall followed him into the week. The other students started mocking him with nicknames like Spank Sinatra and the Pervinator. Some kept it simple and just shouted wanker at him as he passed by. By Saturday night, he was ready to put the madness behind him. Some classmates were throwing a house party. It was loud, chaotic, and exactly what he needed. He grabbed a beer as soon as he walked in and chugged it back. After the weirdness of the last few days, this felt like normal life again. He floated through the crowd, bumping into people he vaguely recognized, making small talk here and there. Somewhere between his fourth and fifth drink, he found himself leaning against the kitchen counter, talking to a female he'd never met before. As the night went on, they moved to the living room, where the dancing had turned into a mess of bodies, jumping and shouting along to whatever blared out of the speakers. Things appeared to be going well, but he desperately needed to take a leak. He excused himself and headed towards the hallway, only to find a line stretching out from the bathroom door. "Guess I'll be watering the shrubs then," he joked smugly to a passerby. "Okay," they replied. "Hey, aren't you the pervert from the lecture hall?" Alex rolled his eyes and made off towards the back garden. "Goddamn degenerates," he thought to himself as he pushed open the back door. The buzz from the beer felt good in the cold night air. He tucked himself away behind a clump of bushes. As he started relieving himself, he heard a giggle close by, high-pitched and playful. He instinctively scowled and covered his junk, pissing all over his hands. He swore and flicked the liquid off his fingers. He shook off and was halfway back to the house when there was another high-pitched giggle, this time followed by a loud, mechanical roar. Alex looked over his shoulder. At the far end of the yard was a large, chubby figure holding a chainsaw with a camera strapped to his head. Alex recognized him in an instant. It was the clown from that website. They had found him. His gruesome demise was about to be live-streamed to an audience of chuckling sadists. The saw roared again, its teeth biting the air as the clown started to trot forwards. There was an open gate off to his left. Alex knew he could swerve off around the side of the house and outrun the clown. He was sure of it. But he hesitated and glanced back towards the house. If the clown followed him inside, the bodies would slow him down. He could dissolve away in the chaos. Let someone else be the target. Quick as he could, he bolted toward the party, slipping back into the crowded living room. His eyes were wild, frantic, but no one seemed to notice. They were too drunk, too busy having fun. The screaming started almost immediately. Alex didn't look back. He pushed through the dancing bodies. The noise of the chainsaw was deafening over the loud music. There was confusion and panic. Some were so drunk that their slow reactions made them sit in ducks. Others scrambled out of the way, the smell of gasoline filling the room as the clown ploughed forwards. Partygoers pushed and shoved as they tried to escape, bodies slamming into one another in the chaos. The chainsaw's roar was relentless as the blade chewed through any obstacle it met. Alex moved with the surge of bodies, shoving his way through the crush. The front door burst open, and suddenly everyone was stampeding into the street. He heard the cries of someone going down, trampled underfoot by the rush. Out in the street, Alex barely caught his breath as the clown came bursting out through the front door. Alex sprinted down the street. A car screeched to a halt beside him, tires skidding on the tarmac. It was the woman he'd been hanging out with at the party. She told him to get in. Alex yanked the door open and threw himself inside. And the house, the chaos, the clown, all of it faded into the distance behind them. His chest was heaving, his hands trembling in his lap. "What the hell was that?" she screamed. She shook her head, her eyes sad. The night had twisted into a living hell. She handed him a bottle of water. "Here, drink. You look like you're about to collapse." Alex unscrewed the cap and gulped it down. He leaned back, resting his head against the seat. The water cooled him down, but something else started creeping in, a strange sponginess. His limbs felt slow, tired, and the panic that had been coursing through him now dulled. Then the car's hands-free system beeped. She spoke in French, her voice low and calm. Alex tried to sit up, but his body felt wrong, sinking into the seats like quicksand. The water bottle slipped from his hand. She glanced over at him, her eyes now distant, detached. "It's the drugs," she said, her voice exact. "You'll be out soon." Alex felt surprisingly relaxed as his vision darkened and the world faded out. When he opened his eyes, he was shackled to a chair, his wrists and ankles locked tight. Straps pinned his body and head, making any movement impossible. Directly in front of him sat a table lined with cold, gleaming instruments, scalpels, pliers, drills, and other tools that made his stomach lurch, the promise of pain clear in every one. His eyes darted around the concrete room. Above him, a digital scoreboard blinked red, keeping count of something he couldn't yet understand. The door creaked open. The woman from the party stepped inside, now dressed in a French-made outfit, her white apron splashed with blood. She moved to the table, her fingers gliding over the instruments. She looked up at the scoreboard, then back at him. "It's tracking views," she said. "Your story has been posted on a tiny little horror channel. When people stop watching, I get to remove juicy chunks of you. Make it through the week, and we'll set whatever's left of you free." Alex's throat tightened, fear silencing him. Her face remained blank as she picked up a bone saw. "Unfortunately for you, no one really cares much about your story, and it's about time for me to collect." She rested the serrated blade on Alex's leg, looking into his eyes with a cruel smile. "You're not going to enjoy this. The first cut is always the messiest." There was a loud click as the number on the screen ticked up by 1. "Well, look at that. Another view." She set the bone saw back down on the tray. "You're holding on by the skin of your teeth, Alex." And with that, she slipped out, and the door slammed shut behind her. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe, and do let me know if you spotted all of the burned out hard drives hidden in the pictures. Night night.